What up, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Discord? We back, man. You know what it is. It's another Docs Radio banger. Is me, realest recruiter in the game. So put some respect on my name. Like it, tweet it, share it with somebody who needs to see it. And you see the casting couch. We back here, Eat Denver for our last pod for the conference. I'm pretty pumped to bring to you today the homies, Paper Venture family in the building. My guys, Nanak and Shadee from Holland. What's up, fellas? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming out, man. Appreciate it. Sorry, I will get the pronunciation. I have to say it like 3 times and then I'm good.
Yeah, no sweat. Oh, like,
Got it.
it's fine. I don't even say my name like the way it should be said. My mom always tells me to tell him to change his name because it's spelled Shadee. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell him that.
You guys have a funny like dynamic. Like I could tell that you guys like if you weren't co-founders, you'd be friends. I
Oh,
could
we're
tell
good
that.
friends.
Let's start there, man. Give me the lore. Like I would love to hear your brief like your individual stories, but also how did you come together? Who were you before crypto, and how did we get to Holland?
Yeah, so we met actually during grad school. We were both actually in LA in different places doing a remote hackathon in Georgetown, which is where we were studying. And we were studying neuroscience. Shadi had the coolest hackathon project, which was putting fMRI data on IPFS. And I was into crypto for like, making trading bots and stuff like that before. But this is what got me into it for actual use cases. Like, oh, well, actually, this is very interesting technology and could have some real applications. Shadi really Web3 pilled me, and then we just started talking because of that project and like because of our shared interest in these new technologies. And then he invited me to Denver, and we made a hackathon project, and that became a company.
It actually started
Yeah.
here a couple of years ago.
So you guys started Holland, like is this your first like job out of college or technically?
I've been in school for a long. Put it like that, it's kind of crazy. Yes, I'm unemployable. I think we're both unemployable.
Yeah.
We got our degrees now.
Well, you're in the right place, man. You're in the right place. Yeah.
But-
The unemployable thrive here in Web3. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So doers, creators, innovators, try stuff out.
hell yeah, risk takers.
Risk takers, try and use.
Mhm.
Why not? I was really interested in taking a lot of these ideas from Web3 and seeing, hey, like instead of going down the traditional path for academia, like now you have your PhD, you got to go do a postdoc, get your federal funding, have your own grant, be it private, independent investigator, have your own thing,
Mm.
get a Nobel someday or something. That's how you say
Yeah, yeah.
and so I thought like, okay, why not like try something different? Let's bring back the gentleman's science period, right? Where people weren't part of institutions. You just like did science for the fun of it. Like it was like you enjoyed it. And so let's like create a research organization in the cloud, right? Like, a virtual community where people come in together, got some funding, and just basically had research fellows come in and try stuff. And as long as you fit somewhat in the umbrella of what we were doing, like, hey, like have fun, experiment, let's see what happens. Now, what's funny is back then there was a golden period, I think, in 2020, 2021, where if you just like created a DAO with like a ridiculous mission statement, you'd attract really high quality people who want challenging problems.
Mhm.
They're just like, fed up with like, wasting their talent at like, I don't know, some like random SaaS company or something, doing something completely mundane and soul crushing. So it was great, man. Like, we were just having a great time attracting some, people who came and went. Some people stuck around. We went from thinking about scientific data infrastructure to how do we build actual, solve real problems in identity and you could call it at large, like for general audience, like cybersecurity, right?
Mhm.
It's applied cryptography.
So you're giving me like Are you a PhD?
I have a PhD.
Got it. Both of you?
No, I just have a master's.
Okay.
I'm dumb.
Shame. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're not. Wait, is Holland an AI project?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Thank God.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. No, I feel like every PhD founder that I've met, like in the last couple of years, is now, is obviously doing an AI project. So that's a positive for me. But also, I guess where I was going with this is like I'm a vibes based investor and recruiter, but I feel like your vibe is, I think some of the academic founders get too caught up in the research and analytics of it, and have a bias against like taking action and taking risk and doing things. From personality wise, I feel like that's not exactly the case. Are you consciously like aware of that, or?
That's why we're not in academia.
Nice.
They kind of kicked us out a little bit. So
Nice.
I think both of us, like, you can characterize us as like really deeply curious people, but we like to like tinker and build toys and try new things out, and some of it like doesn't go anywhere. Like maybe it, doesn't like, it's not gonna make $1 billion overnight or something, but it's interesting, it's captivating, and it gets you thinking about other ways. It's like you work out that muscle, like that innovation muscle.
And the other important muscle is like knowing which ideas not to pursue. Like, there's this concept of idea maze. You get some idea, and it's like eh, the best ideas that we've had and the ones that we've actually gone for actually have been the ones where we've had a problem that we wanted to solve for a while, but there's no technical there's no technical barrier to it. So then we would just brainstorm, and then it'd be like, okay, well, here's this architecture that could actually solve that. Those ideas tend to be the ones where like, well, we can be customers for it. And there's a reason nobody's done it before because of the technical challenges.
Challenges,
So
of
we
course.
love sitting at this space right between like research and applied, where we're not trying to do like super novel research. Like I'm not smart enough for that.
Yeah.
Maybe Shadee is. We like to find places where the research is almost there,
Mm.
where there's a really tangible use case, but there's such a big gap between academia working on theoretical things to advance the field, and then industry working on just immediate things that can immediately go to market. But there's very little in between that, and we really love to sit there.
Nice. So did you guys like have to do a couple of pivots or iterations before you got to the idea that is Honym today? And if so, like kind of like what was that learning process like for you?
Yes and no. So we almost completely pivoted to building a wallet at one point.
Okay.
Because, yeah. But then it ended up being just one of our products. I mean, I think there's a lot that could be fixed with wallets. Um, but I think that it makes sense to have a wider focus in that.
I mean, there was a lot of like, you're sitting at you're in the boat, right? And you're building the boat as you go along, and you're sitting at the wheel, right? So it's not a pivot. You're not like doing like a, a
That's why I said iteration, kind of like just
you
bobbing and weaving a little bit.
Yeah.
you guided along. Early in the beginning, like our first client was Andrew Yang's Lobby 3 DAO.
Nice, I remember that. Yeah, I met him here in Denver a couple years ago when he was
He was in
pushing
my
that
staff
Lobby
room.
3. I sat next to him on the flight home. That was
That's
yeah, yeah. He was really cool too. We actually stayed in touch for a little while.
He's a very personable, like,
Yeah, really easy
Yeah.
to chat with kind of guy.
So yeah, I mean, like at that point, we're like thinking, okay, how are we going to be using this? Is this for like a political fundraising tool? Is this, a generalized identity tool? How does this actually going to go to market? Who needs it? Airdrops actually were the big use case for us.
Mm.
Kind of, it feels like natural now to talk about it, but back then it's like, wait, people are using this for like airdrops? Wait, what? Because it
Yeah.
blindsided us actually.
We had these like really ambitious goals, and we used to think like airdrops are just like these kind of like Ponzi-nomic things. And we're like, okay, we want to build civic infrastructure. We're working with like Andrew Yang's DAO, but yeah, people are just using this to get airdrops. Like we want to build something with like a bigger impact.
Farm enough, the airdrop's gonna have
Yeah.
a fucking impact.
Yeah, that's how we feel now. Like
Yeah.
airdrops are actually legit. I mean, we're still expanding our horizons way beyond airdrops, but like we now see airdrops as like very different. People who are claiming airdrops are usually people in countries where they can't make much money.
Mm.
Like now, people are quitting their jobs to earn $3,000 a month, hunting for airdrops.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that I like that's super like I'm super excited about people that do that. And there's plenty of airdrop farmers that are toxic community members and value extractive, and obviously that's not everyone, but it's definitely part of the game. And maybe this is a good little transition here. Like I guess like speaking into clean cut gentlemen like from academia, and I guess like coming into the degen culture, like I guess how did that clash feel for you? How did you kind of synthesize and yeah, how do you feel about Sigs inside at ETH Bushwick, like all those kind of people? Be honest, spicy is fine. To be honest, I'm 38. I'm a grown ass man. Some of that shit is pretty cringe.
Yeah,
We're quite degen at heart, honestly.
To an extent, it seems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know who our people are at conferences and who like
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
try to avoid and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a vibe thing. I mean, it comes down to like, how complex your intentions are, right? Like, if you're just here to have a good time, that's also great. But like, I think really value extractive people or people that are just kind of like fronting, like, just like really fronting like this, like, status signaling or social, and it's like all the way from the, clean cut like VC all the way to the NFT flippers
Sure.
that are there just to like represent, like try to fill some sort of gap with
Yeah.
social like maneuvering, like grifting.
It's exactly what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, something that bothers me is that like I think some of these degen people, and I've definitely seen this happen, where like they get caught up in the likes on Twitter. They think like the follower count, like the retweets and all that, like makes them good at their job. And
Watch Black Mirror.
they, yeah, like, come on, man. I just think some of these kids need to like get the fundamentals together, and then you can have fun with it and be that guy. But like, understand the difference between just a social clout chasing or whatever, which has its place here. We can't deny that. But at the end of the day, man, like, take your fucking life seriously at some point is how I feel about it. And ETH Bushwick Sigs Inside is fun, and I have many friends that are involved in that. So no disrespect, but like, I don't know. I sometimes I tell people that my friends that I care about that are those people. I tell them like, is this really the brand you want to build for yourself? Because yeah, like I remember when I used to work at UBS doing recruiting, and I was just not a culture fit. Like it just didn't work. I was good at my job, but this wasn't my people, you know? And someone came up to me and he was just like, he just really impressed upon me like the power of a personal brand. And that's why I love crypto so much, is because it gave me a chance to reinvent that. Because once you make an impression, it's hard to change and convince people to look at you differently, you know? So what I love about Web3 is that it gave me a chance to reinvent my personal brand and like with intentions, you know? So I don't know. That's the context that I bring into that conversation.
Yeah.
Bro, I think that's something that I think unites a lot of people's paths into the space. There are usually people that are at a fork in the path, or they, they're really good at one thing, but maybe don't have the right community or the right climate, or these are people that need to kind of like mold or manifest the right environment for these ideas to take root and to really see
True.
fruit bear, right?
True. So I guess like a natural transition from here would be to talk about like the brand of Honym a little bit and how you want it received in the marketplace, the wide array of different, sectors and verticals and types of people that are here. I actually don't know what a holonym is or if it's a real thing. What is holonym? And then I'm curious like how you thought about designing maybe the visual aspects of the brand and things like that.
So Honym is a company that builds Human.Tech. So Human.Tech is our suite of projects. We recently rebranded everything to put it in the suite of Human.Tech. And Human.Tech is exactly what it sounds like. It's building technology that serves humans rather than the other way around. And the overarching goal for all of these tools in the product suite is to bring digital rights to people via cryptography. Because cryptography has an excellent mechanism for enforcing digital rights that doesn't need a middleman. Like all these primitives are really about trust, about privacy, about security. These are cornerstones of a lot of the things we think of as digital rights. So looking for places where these can be applied. One is privacy on identity verification, making sure that data breaches won't lose everybody's social security numbers or identities, making sure that, surveillance is not as big of a concern, and also security of assets as well, like
Mm.
not trusting somebody, not sacrificing like ease of onboarding for like, trusting somebody with your funds, somebody who really is good at storing funds, like a social account. And then financial freedom is the other vertical that we're interested in. Stuff like human network, giving people identities without a banking system, without a government. That's like our main focus right now, making sure everybody can have an identity and have access to finance.
Yeah, we position it into something relatable, right? So, when we go to, when we interact with just stuff in the world today, it's usually rooted in some sort of social contract that exists and it's hidden. Like, unless you run afoul of like the law or you do something wrong, then you're reminded, right, of that social contract. But some of these elements of the social contract, they're there for a reason, right?
What's an example of that?
Your right to personhood, your like, right to property, your right to privacy, your right to prosperity, free market. So these are like very abstract ideas that this country was built on.
Sure.
And we kind of just delegate them in the background and try to do business as usual. I think there is something really important there that maybe might be at risk, especially as we consider how technology might just orchestrate our society and change how we interact with each other. So there's a real opportunity here when we talk about technology that serves humans to take these natural rights, right, these rights, and embed them into a digital setting, right? And the way that we do that is we start with when I explain this to somebody who's not in Web3 or like family and stuff. I say like, hey, like we take your your rights to property, privacy, ownership, etc. And we do that by giving you a digital key. Only you can have that can't be taken away. And with that key, you have access to magic. That magic is cryptography. So you can prove facts about your identity with privacy. You can control who sees your data. You can have absolute control over like how you pass your assets on to others. So yeah, so that's kind of how we're positioning it, is this idea that we're having a moment of like we're initiating a culture around this idea of humanistic technology. And like, we want to get away from the AI alignment, AI safety, and like more towards human alignment
Mm,
around what kind of technology we want to build, principles, or what covenant we should enter into as
mm.
individuals with free will and agency to make that possible.
Nice. Is it fair to say that like what you're working on has a much larger total addressable market than many of these like infrastructure protocols for other crypto companies?
The whole goal of Human.Tech is really thinking about even making a company differently, because a lot of companies are meant to tackle like niche technical problems and like or like niche problems in like a certain industry. And I think like this is really good. It's very essential. But
Better mousetrap sort of situation.
yeah, the incentives have skewed very far away from like really ambitious projects. And like don't get me wrong, we have some, more short-term projects that make revenue, etc. We think with Human.Tech, I mean, the best projects that will be the most profitable are the ones that deliver most value. Like, we're betting on a consumer behavior getting more and more efficient. Like, whoever buys things is going to be buying things that make their life better. Yes, there are inefficiencies you can, like, capitalize off of, like, shopping addictions, whatever. But overall, like, the more value you provide, the more money you'll make. And we really are, yeah, trying to just provide the most actual value. And we think in the long term, you can reach some local optima, but we want to take that jump and go for the global optima.
What we really unlock, so what we do is keys, wallets, and identity. And there's a whole kind of cultural moment building around that. When you have those things, really what you do is you unlock the dream of crypto, which is free capital flow, right? And this way, with identity proofs, that they're open source, like you don't need to rely on a single actor, you can have just like this pluralism of different jurisdictions and applications of that over time. And you can also, give people the tools that they need to root out or like, prevent, to have like defenses against bad actors, like with airdrops,
Mhm.
people from, farming, this like capital allocation events, incentives of decentralized protocol. So these are the same issues in like direct aid, for example. How do philanthropists and government aid organizations and USAID, they've been in the news a lot. How do they actually get money to the end person who needs it, right? And this is an important thing for the entire world. Like it's not just about America, right? Like by promoting security and economic prosperity across the world, you're making the world a safer place for everyone.
For sure.
So these things are really important. With USAID, they need to like basically pass the funds to this one intermediate person. They do some sort of, job on it. They like take their 10%, then they pass to this organization that figures out how you on-ramp it to this government's country or these people, and they like figure out how to get it to the people on the ground and then distribute it. And you get this like Rube Goldberg machine, right? And then at the end of it, there's like nothing left. The ice cube is melted. Why not just have direct capital flow and a protocol that is able to serve that?
If what you're building is for not just Web3 people, but all humans, and not just like Americans, but a global community of all humans, how does that impact your marketing strategy and your branding? Because I'm sure you don't want to make anyone feel isolated, but at the same time, when you're building the brand, you kind of got to be focused and you got to be intentional. So yeah, how does that affect the branding?
Yeah, we do a bit of both. So, we share a lot about the big picture in terms of like our brand, because we want the brand to encapsulate our vision and also keep us in check, to make sure that like, we're really following his values. And we want to create a bigger movement of like humanistic technology, but at the same time, for individual products, so we have a different Twitter for individual products.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, yeah, which is kind of a pain to manage, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds like yeah. I'm like, shit, I know how much work it is to do
Yeah.
one. Do you have like the same kind of brand voice or tone, like messaging for each one, or are they kind of unique in that
We actually had the same one. We started doing it unique, like we thought, okay, maybe since we have a network, this should be a bit more degen than our zero knowledge identity protocol. But it turns out, I mean, the people who are interested in all of our products are generally interested for the same reasons, because you know, they care about using cryptography for real use cases. And so yeah, we've ended up adopting the same voice for all products.
How do you guys think about community? Like, is the community kind of like broken up between these different products, or
Yeah. It definitely is. So while we do have like a similar voice, so like it's a unified brand and all of that, like say like our main Twitter account, Human.Tech, we keep it very clean. We only announce things that are important. We treat attention as like this volatile, high potent, like, primitive energy,
Nice.
right? And so we want to apply that when we feel it's important. And just by like being very brief and poignant and short, it like stands out even more so on its own than like,
I like that.
constantly like putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay.
Attention farming.
Attention farming and like, yeah, exactly. So we keep it like, we have some engineered artificial scarcity.
Nice. I like that. Cool. Well, it sounds like, as you were talking about, you started like with the different voices, then you realize like, no, this is like they're the same users. Sounds like you guys do a great job of like listening to your users, listening to getting feedback and iterating on that. I guess, are there any like mistakes you've made along the way as a founder that you learned from? Any like lessons that stand out to you as like really impactful along the way? It could be product focused, or it even could be like operational, like how to manage the team, how to, anything that stands out, challenges, mistakes, lessons as a founder.
I mean, one thing that it seems obvious to most founders, and they hear it all the time, but we, like many founders, when it actually comes to reality, have all this advice is like spending and hiring too much at once. It's good to hire slowly because then you build the team in a better way.
Sustainable.
Yeah,
It's a lot harder to let go of people than it is to bring people on.
exactly.
It'll always be
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never a good feeling. But
Yeah.
business is business. You got to do it sometimes.
And then they
Which is not-
they might make themselves like critical to the work, and it's like,
Sure.
but they're not the right fit.
Mhm.
Why don't we say hire less? Like definitely hire, but do it slowly.
It's interesting because yesterday I did a podcast with Anna, who's the founder of Parina, which is a stablecoin project on Solana, and she actually said the opposite. She said, I started out hiring slow and firing fast. It didn't work for me. I hire fast, fire fast, and
That's interesting.
I'm not knocking your strategy, but like it just makes me think like different things work for different people.
Yeah,
We did.
exactly.
We
Different things
hired
are for
fast.
everybody.
It is what it is, man. I know it doesn't feel good to say it. It doesn't feel good to say it, but I've seen that strategy work for people.
Yeah.
It's the most, I think, like sensical one, honestly, because you have like if you're putting in more, the talent marketplace is huge.
Sure.
And you're playing this game where you're doing like a over time, you have like some posterior, prior probability that of like what you're looking for. You select someone, then you update your prior, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm getting in, like, is this good enough? And is this the best kind of talent? Am I going to hit it, on the first try or not? Who knows? You're not going to get the best talent on the first try. That's
Yeah, I think it depends what phase probably, because the more ambiguous the role is, the more you're gonna have to like hire fast, fire fast,
yeah.
and the more so like hiring early, like I think it makes sense to hire fast, fire fast, and then hiring later.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a lot of? How big is the team right now?
Like 30 roughly.
30.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we've grown.
It's the acquisition and
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. We'll jump into that in a minute. But
Yeah.
okay, cool. So how many people did you acquire from the acquisition?
12, but then we let go of 4.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, the question I want to ask is like, are a lot of these like, what's your appetite for crypto natives versus like people coming from a Web 2 background? My guess would be that your project is actually well suited for those people, and probably you would skew that way, is my guess.
I mean, our brand officer, who I'm sure you'd love to talk to, she she thought crypto was like cringe as fuck.
I respect it. I respect it.
Never worked for crypto. I don't want to do business with a crypto.
You pilled her?
Yeah.
Well done. What was the key? What was the key there? Like, how did you convince her?
I think just like talking about the work that you're doing, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't. You'd have to ask her. I mean, she's explained it to me before, and she saw the potential for this disruptive new technology. And then once she kind of like dipped her toe in the water and saw how she was in the luxury and fashion industry before, and it's a whole different like breed of people.
For sure.
And she's like, wow, people can actually be like competent and nice.
Well, don't bring her to Eat Denver, man. That might be your last day.
No, we did.
That's fun. Interesting, actually. This year, everybody who I've met who have not been into crypto before, have said everybody here is so cool. I was like, what? Like, I was not expecting that, but actually, it's true. Like the culture this year is so much better than
That's because
previous years.
NFTs are in a bear market.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, man. We've come a
Yeah.
long way. I imagine that you don't have any like true degens, but do you have like crypto native people, like super crypto native people working for you? And like, I guess like,
Yeah.
is there any difference in like how you manage these people, or just any insights of working with, building a team of two different worlds and bringing them together? Like, is there any challenges there, or?
I think we surprisingly have a very, I think most people in our company are both, they straddle both worlds very well. Like, nobody's too buttoned up, nobody's too, like, dumb.
It's like we select for highly agentic people. Like I think that's one thing we could have talked about too earlier. People that kind of can come in with this scope and then begin manifesting and building and like just getting shit done, right? Like really people that don't need someone to tell them what to do all the time. I'm like, please
Yeah.
don't tell me what, like don't let us tell you what to do. Like
Yeah.
here's general direction.
Don't ask me 10,000 questions long. Just do some shit.
Yeah,
you know?
we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out this shit.
Yeah. Nice.
Hard problem. Here you go. You're gonna have
Nice.
fun with it. So I think that part kind of selects a lot of different types of people that are naturally curious, that are willing to pick things up, rotate it, look at it different ways, and take it apart, put it back together again. And so, like for example, our brand officer, she's the same way. She's like constantly thinking about what can I take from these other industries that
Cool.
have been like evolved natural selection to a
Yeah.
point. It's like highly competitive, like between luxury brands and stuff, to Web3 where it's still very nascent and it's like before the meteorite comes in and like selects the most refined.
It's on its way. It's on its way. Curious, as co-founders, like, what is each of your like superpower? Like, what's the difference between you two? Who does what? How do you delegate things between the two of you?
Yeah, so we kind of had this organically happen, and we often overlapped in roles, and this worked really well, actually. There's no CEO or anything for the first almost 3 years. And then we had a wider team. They need to know who to report to for which things. And then it'd always be that they want approval from Shadee or Nanak or Shadee and Nanak, and then approval would just be this whole complicated process.
Like
would
brain,
know.
I talk to right. Yeah, just want to talk to one
Exactly.
brain.
So then we made it more delineated, for better or for worse. And so now Shawnee's the CEO. I rejected the title of CTO because we have such an engineering team. They don't need someone to manage them that well. Like I spend maybe 10 hours a week managing the engineering team. Most of the stuff I do is largely on strategy.
So architecture and
Oh, I definitely, yeah.
deep research occasionally, like
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I do architecture, strategy, and managing a tech team. We've made that sort of division. So Shai does like talking to investors, running the marketing team.
Yep. Storytelling.
Got it.
Yep.
That's my
I could see how that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're like the technical, non-technical co-founder a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. What else? Let's talk about like, I mean, I got to show some love to my guys at Paper Ventures who connected us. Talk to me about fundraising a little bit. Like, how are investors reacting to the latest acquisition? In the beginning, who got it? Who didn't? What were some of the reactions, feedbacks, learnings from those pitches early on?
Yeah, I mean, we gave them kind of a heads up that this was happening. We didn't want to give them like too much time to peanut gallery.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is happening. So,
Yeah.
but like if you have anything to say, let us know. I think there was just like a lot of questions on how did this happen? Like what do the numbers look like? How does burn, etc. That was like our internal cap table, kind of like our trusted interface. And I think like a little bit down the line, I mean, like now today that it's public, it's been overwhelmingly positive. We're really positioned as a very aggressive kind of like play. We can call ourselves a dominant Web3 identity project.
Hell yeah.
Over 35 million credentials, 2 million users. If you compare us to WorldCoin just on credentials, we're beating them by I don't know what the numbers are now. They're constantly growing, but like last I checked, 3.5x, just in terms of like number of creds. They're beating us on number of humans for now. Yeah, so I think like people are just kind of like, oh wow, like that happened. They took this project that's really important and has tons of usage. All of the Web3 projects rely on it for airdrop distributions, and it's one of the go-to things that you think of reputation. And our primary distribution partner, actually. Yeah, and that team is absolutely like incredible, right? Like, I mean, why hire when you can acquire?
I respect it. I love that. Like when you were originally pitching the idea, did you ever think to go for like non-crypto native VCs? Like what was the strategy there? And like, were there people that got it, didn't get it? Tell me.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the conversation with non-crypto native VCs more in many ways.
Yeah.
Because they really diligence the tax. But like I just remember conversations with Fusion Fund. They're a Web2 investor. They've done a couple Web3 plays like Threshold, New Cipher, and us, maybe one or two more. Like I was super surprised. I mean, they had a very deep technical knowledge of the technology, just didn't market that well because they were more Web2 fund. So like we want to do a few Web3 investments, not too many. But yeah, it was more of a fundamentals based and technology based conversation. So
Yeah, I feel like for Web 2, it's interesting because like the recipe feels known. Like the SaaS recipe
yeah.
is, you go to school become like a chef, right? Like you got to know your basic recipes, and then just like looking to see, what does your go to market look like? What is, your user acquisition cost?
Yeah, yeah,
All these things. Like you have to know how to speak to them as well.
100%.
And then also I think like the social norms are a little different in general with Web 2 VCs. They're like, maybe less likely to be degen and ape-in, right? Like,
Right. FOMO in, care about the hype.
or even from like the deal making structure, like in terms of whether it's like a loan, a convertible note versus a safe.
Right, right, right.
Safes are going, we don't want to have too many safes. So, whereas Web3 VCs, they're token native, they know tokens coming, and
Sure.
they're comfortable with it. So it is interesting. And like, I don't know how that's going to change in the Web2 world. I think like definitely there's like rumors of like the SaaS model, like maybe changing with like crypto in the mix and now AI in the mix and all this stuff. But yeah, no, we have like a pretty diverse cap table actually. We have like a publicly traded company that's invested in us, our first investor actually.
Which one is that?
It's I don't remember the ticker, but it's
BTQ, right?
yeah, like BTC, like Bitcoin, but BTQ, like post quantum. So they do like infrastructure for like post quantum cryptography and stuff like that.
How's the process of integrating that new team into your existing team?
So we have taken the approach that we should keep everything as is unless we're very sure of making a change and to do any changes gradually. Because we're like, look, we love this team, we love what they're doing. Let's just keep like let's not mess with the good thing. At the same time, if people from there, like if they're really good synergies where they can help contribute to the wider team, or
Oh, so you're basically just letting them continue exactly what they're doing on the same roadmap to an extent, of course, building the same product rather than like, okay, here's this one big happy family and we're all going to now do meetings together and we're going to, yeah, I guess I could see how that would get really messy.
Yeah, we don't feel
Exactly,
like the
yeah.
camp counselor, like busting in the door with the cool, like
Nice. That's cool. I'm sure that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure they appreciate it. But I imagine there would have to be some sort of vibe integration, like just at least from a personal perspective, just getting to know each other and being
Yeah.
comfortable with each other, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think luckily, in many ways, we're values aligned and like somewhat similar vibes. But I think, so we talk a lot with the leadership team at Passport, and so they've become quite integrated in the Holland culture, and we talk to them a lot. Yeah, the Passport leadership has, especially like
there's
Kyle,
yeah.
has practically become our COO.
He's their ex-CEO.
Cool.
Now he's
Yeah.
our COO.
Cool.
Which is crazy because like
Yeah.
we have like somebody who's, started multiple companies before, taking this product like, from 0 to 1 to 10.
Awesome.
Now we're on our way to 100 and 1,000, but like
He's been so helpful. Like,
incredible.
yeah.
Brings
Yeah.
expertise, this like wisdom with them as well. So.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm just curious, like, do you guys have any, like, who do you go to for advice? Do you have any mentors, like, inside or what?
Paper.
Is one. Hell yeah.
Our trusted advisors, the council. It's like for vibe.
Daddy Danish, my guy.
Yeah.
Daddy Danish.
Bad Brownie.
Hell yeah.
Evalio, Oliver, all those guys, yeah, and like the full team actually. Deanne,
Good people.
incredible.
Yeah, DM's the homie for sure.
Sasha, yeah, like shout out to the whole team for real.
I just think like it's different with you guys, I think, given your backgrounds, but like I usually like to ask this question to the more crypto natives, because not that you're not crypto native, but you know what I mean, because I do think a lot of founders, Web3 founders, like only get advice from other OG crypto people. And I just feel like you have to have a diversity of thought. So like I try to encourage like the younger people that I work with, like, dude, get some guy who's like that you trust and respect, just has nothing to do with crypto. And even if everything he says is completely off and wrong, you don't agree with any of it, it's just healthy to have that different like viewpoint in there, you know?
It's a barometer, right? It's like, like a sanity check, like, are you off in this world?
Yeah.
Like going fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone around you's going
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't seem like too deep where you've lost yourself yet in the crypto sauce.
We see crypto, I think. Like crypto is a tool. We see it as a very young ecosystem.
We could stop using blockchain tomorrow and be fine as long as we're like,
Go.
yeah.
You know, we don't need the world to like suddenly overnight adopt the Bitcoin standard.
Nice.
Like we're not like we're not bought into the religion. We're, I think, very practical.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I guess the last question I'll ask on this topic, which is kind of tangential to some stuff that we've already talked about before, but like, how do you feel about like the cult leader founder thing, which is obviously a thing and it works for who it works for?
I love cult.
Clearly.
We're just gearing up to
Yeah.
launch our call, actually.
Hell yeah.
Our chosen one.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It's
There's a lot of those yoga documentaries, bro. I've seen that. I've seen the evil yoga teacher documentaries.
I'm in a cult. A good one. I like it.
Our cult or a different cult?
Yoga
Sick.
cult. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
I love
Stop
it.
everything
It's
else
great.
and tell me about this yoga cult right now.
I mean, yeah, there are documentaries about it too, and like,
Their
no,
documentary?
not that one.
Oh shit.
yeah, another crazy one. Another crazy one.
Okay. Come on, man. Tell me the
I
experience.
think it's very easy to. Well, okay, this is a little bit of a tangent here, but it's a fun one.
Yeah.
I love it. Cults actually, in many ways, we hear about extreme examples, but there are lots of great cults. Like early Christianity was a cult. I think the word has adopted a very negative connotation, but oftentimes like the structure works very well.
This guy tried, you avoided you swerved around that question. But like tell me like some details about like what's a day in the life of the cult feel like? No, honestly, like give me more.
I mean, so I'm kind of joking calling it a cult. Definitely
Obviously,
some people seriously call it a cult. A lot of people seriously call it a cult actually.
What about it
But,
feels cult like? Or what cult-like elements are involved that are a positive that you take away and maybe can apply to business someday?
Yeah, a great question actually. That's a really interesting question. So what feels, at least to me, most cult-like is we often wear like all white. We have our set of practices, and also there was like a leader who I was very close to who brought it over, this style of yoga, to the U.S. And often when there's a leader who has a lot of power, and he did have a lot of power.
Yeah.
He used it, largely for good. He never claimed to be a perfect person.
What are some of the things that he did to like maybe achieve that status and gain the deep loyalty of his followers?
Yeah, what's the lore?
Yeah,
Come
what's
on,
the
what's
lore?
the lore,
I mean,
bro?
so he came from India as a yogi. He had studied with all these people in the
Not
Yogi
Bhajan.
Bhajan. Yogi Bhajan. Yeah.
Yogi, bro, wait, that's the one that you
Yeah.
Dude, I've definitely seen a documentary about this guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Breath of Fire. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. That's
Yeah.
the one that was just with the woman. Oh my god, dude, I watched that like just recently.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
I haven't seen it. But I've heard.
Bad cult member. Bad cult member.
It's very negative.
Yeah, it's very negative. And so yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with all these. I think
And by the way, like,
like,
let me
yeah.
like clearly say as a camera, we're having a joke, like we're having fun with this subject right now.
Yeah.
I'm very well aware that like there are hit pieces. Like some of these documentaries
Exactly.
are straight up hit pieces. We all know that. Like,
Yeah.
let's put that out there. But I'm
Amazing.
still curious to
Yeah.
hear a little bit more. So back to the original
Yeah.
question, what are the characteristics of the leaders that like is attractive and that you could take lessons in to apply to business?
Yeah, I think the main thing that everybody loved about him is that he changed people's lives. Like, he made them happier and like, closer to spirituality. And he was also extremely charismatic too. Like, he was this like huge guy, super, and he dressed in all white, like very powerful presence. And also just being around him, you felt something like just being around his energy.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And and he was hilarious too. Like he gave no shits. He was like,
Your parents were followers of his as well?
yeah, he lived with us. Yeah, he lived in our house.
You seem like a little bit reserved. Like you're obviously talking, but are you the one that's going to be that waving the Honym cult flag? Like
I would love to start a cult.
you have one, but you have a community. You like take some of those qualities and be the cult lead. Like I guess like all right. I guess like in crypto, what I see is just like cult leader means like founder-led narrative marketing is in a sense like seeing community management and things like that.
We're trying to get more into that now, like founder brand and all that. It's
Yeah.
definitely, especially like as a technical founder, not something I had really done much from the beginning, but now it's something I'm focusing a lot more on.
Cool.
And I think it's the best way to promote the brand is through the founder brand. Even outside of crypto, I mean, if you look at Sam Altman, like his tweets get so much more than OpenAI.
Yeah, these guys are all like really public personas, like Sam Altman, YC. He's always out there giving like talks and like, podcasts and recordings and keynotes, and like he's been in the game for a minute. And like when we talk about Vitalik too, he's also always been in media. He started
Yeah.
off writing articles for what was it, Bitcoin Magazine or something? So like I think like, when it comes to founder-led marketing, it's all about content creation and putting yourself out in the mix with the audience, right? So I like feeling like, and that comes with like a little bit of a risk as well. Like, how do you get out there, get your message out there and be able to like respond and like
Yeah.
dynamically engage with like
Yeah.
reality, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
What one thing? All right, I'll wrap up this topic on this question. Is like, so if I think about successful cult leader founders in crypto, obviously the first one that has to come to mind is Smokey from Bearchain. Good friend of ours. Shout out to Smokey and the Bears, right?
is he always with
I've met him a bunch of times without the thing on, but that may be a bridge too far, right? But that's their thing. It's cool. It works. I think what resonates with me about his leadership style is the catchphrases that he comes up with that are absolutely brilliant. Like believe in something, Q5. Like he has all these just like memorable things, and then his community like adopts them, and you all of a sudden see millions of people talking about the chain is coming in Q5. And it's interesting how he's so good at that. I guess, is there anything in the yogi? I don't even want to call it a call. I don't want to disrespect like that, but in the yogi,
I love the word.
you do. Okay.
I mean,
is there anything
I think
in
yes, it does normally perceives a bad thing.
Yeah. But is respect.
Yeah.
But is there anything in that that's like that resonates? Like
Interesting.
any tactic that he did that is tangential to that?
So let's see. I'm trying to think of like catchphrases. I mean, yeah, there are catchphrases like Satnam. It's like a way of greeting people that means like true name, like like essentially talking about the truth.
So I've heard Satnam before, probably in yoga settings, but like, all right, I won't belabor this point anymore. But that was fun. I was genuinely very curious about that, and I hope you find more ways to bring those positive principles.
I've actually been trying to like figure out how to finesse this out too as well. I mean,
It's important, and I think it would be very effective if you were to
Start a cult. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you have a cult. You just need to like be more cultish.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. To take us home here, I guess let's bring it back to earth. Let's bring it back to reality a little bit. So you just made this big acquisition. I'm assuming that took a lot of last time and energy in the last couple months. I guess looking forward from here, what are some like milestones or what are some exciting stops on the roadmap that people should look out for the rest of this year?
Launch of Human Network is, I mean, so it's in mainnet alpha now. Human Network is the core for all of our other tools. So for the privacy and Human ID, Human Network adds some privacy to that. We still have some degree of privacy without it. Human Wallet, that's like we can't launch Human Wallet until we launch Human Network. And Human Network is also going to add a lot of privacy to Human Passport. So we're really excited about Human Network because it just helps all of our products. We built this network because we needed it in a bunch of different products. So we're super hype about this. The other interesting launches, I mean, okay, let's talk about the $1.5 billion hack recently.
Yeah, let's do it.
At the beginning of this podcast, I did mention that the past like 4 podcasts I've been on had been like somewhat like memorable or weird or something. The most recent one, it was a security and cryptography podcast. And I was talking about, risks I perceive. It was, like, I think we're all talking about it. Like, that's one of the questions. Share your biggest worries. Is like, there's $70 billion in safes right now, and they're all dependent on one UI. As of this week, last week, that vulnerability actually was exploited. I mean, the people found a vulnerability in the safe UI, or rather, developer's computer, and push it to safe UI, and that caused a blindsiding attack. So we have been working for a very long time on blindsiding attacks at Human Wallet because we think that the solution is not to tell people, and I have been telling people recently, to have a separate device and only connect your hardware wallet to a separate device. This is the only thing to do right now, but we don't think there's a long-term solution because who's practically going to do that? Like, I barely do that. Like, I have to like pull Shadee's leg to do that too. It's so convenient to sign on your current device with your hardware wallet. So we think there has to be a better way, and so we've added a feature in Human Wallet, which we're really excited about. A really cool architecture, actually. I'm super proud of it. It was one of the most fun things that I've built, because we did some like pretty extreme security measures. And this ends up giving you the human readable transaction on your hardware wallet to sign. So there are simulations that happen on like this secure enclave through multiple simulation providers. Human readable results given to your hardware wallet, and it signs as like a 2FA. Get all into the architecture, but like long story short, you see what you're signing on the hardware wallet, and we're super excited about that.
That like transaction simulation came from this trusted source, right? Like that it hasn't been intercepted along the way or tampered with, as opposed to like a front end, right? Like which can change. There's like all sorts of attack vectors on it. So when we're talking about enterprise security with like self custody, this is it.
Interesting.
And even like B2C, like I'm gonna instantly move. Like once this is ready, and it needs human network to be ready first. But like I'm gonna instantly use this. Like we're gonna move our company treasury to this, because I don't trust $2 million in like our complex setup. Like I mean I do. We're using separate devices, but it's a total pain. Yeah.
I wish I could go deeper, but I'm
Yeah.
way too left brain for this conversation. As far as like people following the project and paying attention, I guess like what can they expect from you guys specifically from Honym this year?
So we're the human wallet's in alpha. Like it's an alpha, right? Right now, it's I think you
Yeah.
can test it.
You can test it.
This will be so the thing is like we're really focusing on pushing out the network, and we don't want to really dilute from the messaging, but we'll be releasing the wallet a little bit afterwards. And I think that'll be a really great opportunity, for people to get their hands in on this, get their hands on it. Really, we're gonna lead by example and put our own funds on it.
Hell yeah.
And we're also gonna encourage other folks.
Stand on business.
Yeah, there you go.
Now you speak my language. We're back.
Right. So yeah, I mean, like that's like the big thing, and we're also we're going to be dedicating significant resources to the wallet. So we're going to be releasing new features, things that just make life easier when interacting with the wallet. Everything from like a gas tank, so that you never need to worry about which chain you're on.
Cool.
It's all abstracted in the back end.
Cool.
Better like authentication mechanisms. Yeah, you'll see a lot of stuff coming out. It's gonna be fun.
Well, cool, man. I'll be following closely. Look forward to working with you when hiring season comes back. And man, this is fun. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for hosting us, man.
Salute. We out. Thanks for checking it out. Peace.